Hi everyone. Okay, so National Eating Disorder Awareness Week begins February 24th. In honor of that, I would like to talk to you today to share my story and hope to educate people and to help and inspire people dealing with any struggles in their life. This is my story of overcoming the hardest thing that life has ever thrown at me. I can't really pinpoint exactly where it started because for most people, you are genetically born with the traits that can trigger the disorder. As for me, I was made a perfectionist. I always wanted everything to be absolutely perfect. I was never really confident with who I was to begin with, but there was always something I was confident about, my volleyball ability. One night after winning the most intense game I've ever played in, my parents' friend was talking about this new diet. She encouraged my parents to start it to shed a couple pounds because she was raving about how amazing it worked. To help them with the expenses and preparation of food, I decided to join them. I'll just eat whatever they are eating and maybe it'll be easier for all of us, I told myself. It started off great. They got off of it and everything was going well until I became obsessed with it. To my eating disorder that I didn't know that I had at the time, I didn't lose enough weight. Even after ending the diet, I would restrict every single food that wasn't in it. And if I did eat them, I would either exercise until I felt like it was enough or feel so guilty and promise myself to never eat those foods again. Sometimes I would even purge. After a while, it became a cycle of restricting for so long and then binging on foods that I secretly loved. I couldn't control it. If I ate something that I thought was bad, I would immediately work out. There came a time where my thought process was all or nothing. I had a bad day I had a good day if I didn't eat anything that I thought was bad, and I would consider myself a failure otherwise. I became so caught up on just that, nothing else even mattered. The sport I loved most just became a way to burn calories. I couldn't even concentrate on anything else besides what I ate or how many calories I needed to burn. I thought everyone would like me more if I was thinner, and I thought life would be so much better. At this time, I became obsessed with working out. I would go to track, then to volleyball workouts, then to volleyball practice, then home again to work out. Everyone just thought I was so motivated, and at the time, I thought so too. My ultimate goal was to be healthy, but it turned out to be the complete opposite. I'll never forget one of the girls on my team telling me that 1 out of 10 girls had eating disorders. Being 10 girls on the JO team at the time, I thought maybe it was me, but I kept telling myself it wasn't. I missed out a lot during this. I started isolating myself and shutting out the people who mattered most in my life. I made excuses to not go out to team dinners and couldn't even play without thinking about how I looked in spandex. It wasn't a way to live, and I knew that, but I was never satisfied. I wanted more. Well, my eating disorder did. After seeing that my eating was out of control in my eyes, I wanted to have total dominance over it. As the summer started, I knew it was a great chance to gain this control. I started eating less variety and less amount. I didn't realize how much I was starving my body. I would run miles on miles every day, and still that was not enough for me. It came to a point where everything seemed okay. My eating disorder kept telling me, "You're thin now, so everything is all right." I was somewhat happy with how I looked. Volleyball was starting, and I was getting contacted by college coaches, and life seemed to be going great. Besides the fact that I was so cold, I would have to leave places to go inside in the summer and would carry blankets around my house. I would be afraid to go to graduation parties or other events because they involved food, but my eating disorder ignored all of this. I remember I would go to places and they would say, "Oh my gosh, you look so good, do you even eat?" And I swore to them I was just eating healthy and working out normally. Everyone looked to me as this idol to be healthy, and I loved it. Everyone would compliment me and say, "I wish I had your willpower." It wasn't willpower, it was in fact a mental disorder. But everyone's comments fueled me to keep going even more. I didn't even realize how sad my life was becoming. I was too focused on my weight loss. It became so bad that my life revolved around when I worked out and when I ate. I ditched friends because I didn't work out that day or the plans revolved around food. I couldn't even enjoy myself at my surprise birthday party because there was cake there and my eating disorder didn't allow me to have it. People started not to recognize me and tell me I had to eat more, but to my eating disorder this was all a compliment. I completely ignored the harm I was doing to my body. After all, I was thin, right? Nothing else mattered. My bones started aching and I was becoming weak. I began to lift weights even more than I was already and didn't feel myself afterwards. My muscles were deteriorating, and so was the rest of me. I became so upset I would cry every night because I was so unhappy. It became a constant battle of wanting to be happy and healthy again, but not wanting to gain a pound. I was literally killing myself every time I made the decision to not eat. I couldn't stop. Every time I would step on the scale, I would have this sense of accomplishment, even though I couldn't pick out an outfit to wear because everything would fall off. I was so mindless of everything else that was going on in the world, and I became almost like a robot. I was literally going through the motions without feeling anything besides sadness. Although I can't remember a lot of things during this time, I remember the Independence game, one of the most important games ever in the high school season. Me, being the one that was expected to lead the team this year, couldn't even concentrate on the game because I was so malnourished. I was so fatigued, and I just wanted to have my strength again, but didn't want to change my ways. I knew I was losing all the talent that I had, and there was talk all around that I needed help because I was losing my ability, but I refused to listen. All this time I thought being thinner would make me better at the sport, and I could not accept that it did the total opposite. My accomplishments turned into my weight loss, or how loose things fit, instead of how many kills I got during a volleyball game. I didn't even realize how quickly my life was falling apart, but I kept doing what made me temporarily feel better, and it spinned out of control so fast. Every time I felt upset, I told my parents that I would go on runs because it helped my emotions. I continued to run even after very hard volleyball practices, and at this point my family was worried and begged me to eat, but my eating disorder physically wouldn't let me do it. I was lying to everyone, losing friendships, and losing who I was. Deep inside, I knew it wasn't the way to live, and I knew I couldn't keep going like this, but my eating disorder would not let me change. I would go to all-day tournaments eating only a small amount and would be so fatigued by the end that I couldn't even jump anymore. I was in a daze with continuing thoughts of when I would let myself eat again. I was scared to keep playing because I felt like I could just collapse on the court, and after all of this, my eating disorder still encouraged me to not eat more. I knew I was losing everything, so I decided to tell my friends. I don't think anyone at the time knew how serious it was, but I knew I wasn't myself. One day, after forcing myself to go out for ice cream that I couldn't even enjoy, I came home and ran because I felt so guilty, and then cried all night to my sister asking what I should do. With the family issue going on, I didn't know how or when to tell my mom. Wanting to get help but embarrassed to tell her made it so difficult to speak up. One day, I built up the courage and I told her, I think I need help. Agreeing, she got on the phone right away, but it was so difficult to receive the help I needed. I went to my pediatrician and she thought I was fine because at least I was eating something. She allowed me to continue with my fatal ways, and that's when I started to feel helpless. During the struggle of finding help, I continued with my disordered eating habits and eventually got to the point where I couldn't even stand without feeling dizzy or go a day without crying. I didn't know why I was alive or what the point of living was. Time went on, and I was ordered by doctors not to run anymore, but I would secretly go out in the early mornings and run before school. I was no longer in control of anything. My eating disorder was. The weekend before I was reported to the hospital, I had a volleyball tournament, and I knew it would be my last one. I played my heart out, and even the coaches would come up to my coach and say, "What's wrong with her?" When I found this out, I cried and cried, thinking that I played well. And later that day, I received a letter from a Division I college. I tore it up, because no one wanted a girl with an eating disorder, right?